Welcome to the Own Your Choices, Own Your Life podcast. You've landed in the right place to learn how to own your story, release subconscious beliefs, rewire your mind, and step into the impact you know you're here to create. Through Outspoken Publishing and NLP certifications, we share the tools and subconscious shifts that expand your voice, your message, your confidence, and your leadership. I am your host, Marsha Vanwynsberghe, NLP trainer, speaker, author, and publisher. I am thrilled you are here. Let's get started. Welcome back to the show. Today we are speaking with Caroline Goyder. Caroline has worked with politicians, a queen, a president, and a large global firm like Amazon, Netflix, Adobe, and Facebook. She can provide expert analysis and feedback on personalities in the news regarding speaking, confidence, and body language. Based in London, England, Caroline is the author of the best-selling books Gravitas and Find Your Voice, published by Penguin Random House. Plus, Caroline's first book, Star Qualities, saw her interview A-list actors, including Kate Winslet, Helen Mirren, and Ewan McGregor, and all about the secrets to confidence and their lessons they learned that she still uses today. This is such a fantastic episode. We dove right into speaking. Imagine what it's like to have so much self-doubt in public speaking and also being told you just don't have what it takes, yet feeling so called to follow through anyways that you go back into the area, the training, the program that you're told isn't for you. And then it unfolds in this way. So this is such a great episode on the lessons, like leaning in. How do you follow through and do your life's calling, even if someone else doesn't get it? And are you willing to do enough reps to get better at it? This was one of my favorites. Honestly, love the conversation. Welcome to the show today, Caroline. I am thrilled to have you here.
I'm so delighted to be here. I love your background, and I think we're going to have a really interesting chat, Marsha.
We definitely started, and I knew it's like, no, we have to hit record. And people listening can hear your voice and accent. So can you please tell us where you're from?
I'm Caroline Goyder, and I am from Clapham in London.
Amazing, amazing. I get so excited when I get connections from, all the other parts of the world. And I know that together, we're going to be able to bring so much to people in an episode. This is why I love the interviews. So tell us a little bit about yourself, and we're going to dive into your story.
In essence, I'm a not very confident introvert. And I was a child who loved moving, but wasn't any good at sport. And I found myself being pulled towards things like acting and boys, but then got told you have no presence, you have no gravitas. And I had this terrible moment of, I really love doing these things, but people are telling me I'm not good at them. Am I stuck like that forever? And I guess my journey over the last decades, maybe a couple of decades, if not more, has been going, when someone says to you, you haven't got any presence, you haven't got enough gravitas, you're not very good at something, do you get stuck there? Is that identity level? Or can you change? Can you learn how to do it? And I'm here to tell you that if you're being told you don't have enough presence or confidence or gravitas or any of those things that get thrown at us at work, it's stuff you can learn. You're not stuck.
Okay. So first off, love that start. Second, was it a message from somebody who actually was doing what you wanted to do?
I studied English at university, and then I got myself to drama school.
Mm-hmm.
And they all started saying to me, these drama school teachers, who were the experts theoretically, you don't have any presence. You're not, one of them said you have no process, which is really gutting from an Olympic teacher. I said, what does that mean? And he said, the process by which you get better. He was basically saying you're terrible. So harsh. It was hard. It was a really hard awakening.
Oh my goodness. Sorry. I'm just like, because sometimes we get those messages from people who aren't doing what we're doing. Okay. So how did you let that not stop you, or did it stop you for a while, and where did it change? Because this is going to just shock people when they hear what you do for a living.
Yeah, it's classic, isn't it? Teach what we
Mhm.
need. I kind of metaphorically curled up into a little ball at that point. I stayed on at drama school, but I had such a loud inner critic and such a strong self-doubt that I just didn't. I did okay, but I wasn't at full capacity. And then I left drama school and I trained as a teacher. I taught a little bit. And then I was pulled back into what I wanted to do. And I went to train as a voice coach. I'm a glutton for punishment, I think. And there I found really good teachers who believed that it was possible to change. They had a mindset that growth is possible, which
Mhm.
is where life gets interesting. And they helped me to unpack the physical tensions, the negative beliefs, the noisy inner critic that was stopping me fully expressing my presence and showing up with presence. And of course, it was all in there
Mhm.
because 2-year-olds have presence, right? It was all in there. My drama school teachers probably knew that, but they didn't want to allow for a growth mindset. And as soon as I got into the place where people believed it is possible to grow,
Mhm.
guess what?
You did.
I did. And so I think that says a lot about the power of a growth mindset in the world.
And I think that is across the board, the growth mindset. I thank you for sharing that piece of it because I feel like this is obviously your soul's work and you were guided back into it, even though, I'm thinking and listening as a, not very confident introvert who was told you have like no process to do this. There was a part of you that went, well, maybe I do actually. Like,
A
think
little
about that.
voice.
This little voice that said, "Thanks for your opinion." I often joke that I had a English teacher who, if she could see how many times I've actually published, she's probably laughing. And I actually did get a DM from her at one point saying, I'm so glad I was wrong."
Good for her. Yes. And also, go you.
I just see it's funny. It's funny that we don't but when the right mentors come across our path, we can actually release something that like they get to see something in this that maybe we don't see yet, but it's like begging to come to the surface.
I just think that's what life's about, isn't it? I love that Aristotle word, long word, entelechy. It's like we all have the acorn, and it's the person who kind of feeds the acorn and grows the oak. I just am always in awe of what the capacity people have within them.
Mm.
And if we breathe and open up our thinking and are present to the world and not lost in our inner critic, I love what people can do. I just think fixed mindsets are a terrible thing in a life which is quite short.
That's so true. So as you started to believe in yourself a little bit, what was the process like? Like, can you remember a time where maybe the inner critic dialed down a little bit or the self-doubt became not so loud and you had this, moment of like believing in yourself because people can believe in us, which I think is beautiful, but it really does come down to when we start to dial that up.
So much so. I mean, I had a lovely teacher called David Carey I did the voice masters at Central School of Speech and Drama in London. And I said, I don't know anything. I don't know anything. And he said, you know more than they do. And that was part of it. It was like, you know enough. And then I think the most important thing that comes out of sports training and drama training is do the practice. Because for a long time, I had a lot of self-doubt because I wasn't actually doing the stuff that we were being taught to do. I was reading the books and I was thinking about it, but was I really doing the voice warm-ups? No, I wasn't. Was I doing the breathing? No, I wasn't. And I went to see a wonderful voice teacher called Barbara Houseman, who just gave me like 5-10 minutes of exercises to do every day. And as soon as I started doing the 5 or 10 minutes every day, it was embodied, it was in me, and I showed up differently. And right now, I'm in the midst of a new breathwork training program, and a different layer of depth is emerging from the same process. Just do the thing.
Mm.
And then something different shows up in you that you didn't know was there. And it's just do the thing. It's just repeat.
Do the thing. I said on the weekend, I'm like, if you're trying to build something without a cringe ladder, you're waiting too long. Like
Yes.
There are times you're going to look back and go, wow, what was I thinking? And I'm so proud of myself at the same time for doing
Going
it.
through, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's learning, it is that cliche about learning that you always hit the dip
Mhm.
where your conscious mind goes, you were really comfortable just doing it without awareness that way. And now you've got all this conscious mind awareness of how you're failing. And this is really nasty. Should we just go back to where we were and watch TV? And if you can just be with that and not watch the TV and do the thing and be a bit of a clown about it,
Mhm.
like it be okay with it being a bit silly and a bit crap for a bit. It's like writing, isn't it? It's got the
Oh,
first draft has to be a bit rubbish. Then you very gently just start to grow a new version that has the skills that you've been learning. And you can't avoid the dip and you can't avoid the being an idiot for a bit. It's important.
all out of love.
Yeah.
Oh, can't avoid the dip. And I love that you said this because I can just picture like the dip is just a moment, right? It's like when we feel we have failed, which I think we're always learning and there's always feedback. But when we want to attach that meaning to it, we give so much more meaning to a dip, right? Like we don't think anyone else has a dip. We don't think anyone else struggles with
Yeah.
something. And that's just not true.
No, in fact, I just think anybody with any excellence in any field embraces dips on a weekly, if not daily basis. Because I think mastery, like in clown training, there was a clown teacher called Philippe Gaulier who died recently. And in clown training, you embrace the flop. When something goes wrong on stage, that's where the show is. It's kind of in going with the
Oh.
flop. And I think what you know in your work as well is as a speaker on stage, the more I told the story about it not working and having self-doubt, like in my TEDx, I told the story of really messing up on stage. That talk's been watched 11 million times. So it's the dip, the flop, the messing up, that's where the good stuff is. Your message is in your messes, if you want a kind of cliche on it. That's it. That's it.
Oh, I love this connection. I have shared, so many times, some of my best close connections that I've made were all made in the absolute mess, like in the
Yes.
absolute mess. They were never made when life was perfect and rosy and going smooth. They were all made when I let someone see me in that mess. And I cherish those connections for so many reasons. But at the same time, if you're going to be speaking on stage, it is not your perfect version that people connect with. Like they see themselves in your story, in your message, and that is in the flops.
Oh, yes. And there's a kind of weird paradox, isn't there, with speaking and vulnerability, which is that you have to have a plan. You have to know what the audience need from you, and the story you tell is helping them with that. So it's like rehearsed spontaneity.
Yeah.
But in the moment of being on stage with that audience, you're just really present to them and really humble about having learned stuff the hard way. And as long as you've done the prep and as long as you're really present, then they connect. The message is never, as you know, show up and just say what you feel, because an audience wants to know you've really thought about it deeply. But then when you have thought about it deeply, tell the story from a place of complete open-heartedness.
Oh, I love that. It's always interesting because, I was just sharing, we just celebrated our 1,000th episode and we did it live, which was actually, beautiful and not easy because I
No.
talked to myself. So all of a sudden we're like live. And I've spoken on stage, but when I speak, I have even more of a plan. But a podcast also is very open and flowy. So I tried to meet in the middle somewhere. And I walked in with my one sheet of paper with colored sticky notes, and my team
Yeah.
was laughing at me going, how does that make sense to you? And I'm like, it makes total sense. But I thought I need it nearby. I didn't need it nearby. I knew exactly where everything was. But then it was, you open and connect to people, and then different pieces come out and different stories come out, and it's trusting that process. But I can say with full honesty that there was a moment that this perfectionist thought it had to be rehearsed and
Yeah.
memorized. And so it took me being on stage in a very vulnerable moment and completely forgetting where I was. to realize that it wasn't the perfect version that the audience needed. Did you ever have a moment where you learned a different way of doing or anything like that?
Yes. Well, I think that so what I learn over the years, clients tell me this. Is it like you're saying, Marsha? It's the moments where we allow ourselves to dance a little bit with the
Mhm.
audience and be a bit loose. I know that when I'm working with clients in a big group or a small group, even of 10 people, the moments they learn most from are the moments that are improvised,
Mhm.
where I'm thinking on my feet or they're thinking on their feet. On stage, it's when someone comes up and tests something out with the audience. The theory, the framing is all good, it's all powerful, but people learn from something improvised because it's like why they say never work with animals and children. That's the cliche for actors because who is the most present? Animals and children. The moments where you are the most present, where you're slightly flying by the seat of your pants. Don't
Mhm.
know if that expression is
Yeah.
resonant in Canada.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Then those are the moments that audiences just love because it's alive.
I love that. I love that permission piece. And so I'm curious. I know you have worked with quite the roster of people. And is it safe to say that everybody struggles with some kind of fear when it comes to speaking?
Oh, yes. I mean, so early on, I wrote this book called Star Qualities, which is not a massively great book. I loved the interviewing process. I was working at Central where I trained teaching business people, but also actors. And I had this idea, well, why don't I interview A-list actors about confidence?
Mhm.
And even though I was working with actors at the time, I genuinely thought when people like Helen Mirren and Sarah Jessica Parker and Frances McDormand, I mean, we are not worthy, she's an amazing actress. When they started to say yes, I thought that I was going to be having chats with people who hadn't been confident back in the day, but now were.
Mhm.
And that wasn't the case.
Really?
They were all very open about feeling imposter syndrome, neurosis, and anxiety before going on set. Helen Mirren said she had shaky hands when she had to go to the bar to talk to people after the show. So it was a real lesson in even the people who we see at the Oscars winning stuff looking confident. It's not that they're performing it, but that it's like a sports person who knows how to get ready to do the thing,
Mhm.
to ski down the mountain or run the 100 meters, and they do it in that time slot with that preparation, and then they stop.
Mhm.
Performance is a bit like that. You prepare for it, you do it, and then you can turn the lights off, particularly if you're an introvert. You don't have to be that all the time. It's a product of your preparation. And I really learned that. It gave me an enormous amount of confidence because I realized I don't have to be confident. I just have to do confidence at
Oh,
the right moments.
and if you do enough confidence, do you build confidence?
I think you build a belief that it's possible.
Mhm.
But I'll be totally honest, I was speaking at an event in May to a big audience, and I have to constantly remind myself in preparation that I've done it before, to go back to all the times when it's worked and then visualize the future of what it's going to look like when it works this time. Because I think we all have an inner critic, a survival mechanism in fight or flight that says, don't do this.
Mhm. This is crazy.
It's not a good idea to speak to 500 people. What are you thinking? Stay at home, watch TV. Much easier.
This is the human piece. I love that you're sharing this. Like, it's interesting because I always talk about like stacking your wins. If you go back and you look, and exactly as you're saying, you're prepping for this talk. So there's the piece on prepping the actual talk, and then there's prepping seeing yourself doing it. And that
Yeah.
requires going back to look for the evidence that you've done it, visualize doing it. It's interesting because I think there comes that moment where there's so much time for the prep of the talk. And then the prep of the talk is done. It's prepping yourself. Like you have to
Yeah.
keep doing that piece even more.
And interestingly, I think the prepping of the visualization and the evidence of the past is what gets me doing the prep.
Yep. Yep.
Because I think we also often have a part of ourselves that just likes to dig its head into the sand and go, don't think about the talk, just the talk will be fine. And that's That's the really dangerous voice, because there is nothing worse than walking out on stage and not having done the prep. If you want to experience real self-doubt, do that. Because the truth is that people who look relaxed and confident on stage, it's not magic. And if I can see how I want to be on that stage in May, it motivates me to put the reps in. But if I'm catastrophizing, which I can easily do,
Oh, yeah.
much more likely to procrastinate and, tidy my whole house.
File
Which
my
is very good.
papers, do all the things that aren't important. Oh my goodness, this is incredible. So what has been one of your favorite either clients or experiences that you've had with the business that you've created?
Oh, that's interesting. There are things I've done which are moments where you go, I'm seeing into a world that so few people see into. And that's one side of it. So like working with the president and his team in a part of the world I hadn't been to before, working with a monarch in another part of the world that I hadn't been to. And like, there's a piece which is just helping people, but also just, I'm getting to see into this world, or in politics as well, seeing behind the curtain. But I think the bit that brings me the most joy is helping people on a weekly basis. It's seeing someone go, oh, okay, so if I breathe this way and I pause and I don't, then my voice isn't going to shake anymore. And it's when someone goes, hey, this is way easier than I thought. That makes work more fun than fun. So there's a kind of seeing into interesting worlds piece, and there's a seeing people get how powerful this stuff is. And then there's also testing it myself, which is doing, like, I did a big event in LA about over a year ago, which I was quite daunted by, and it went well. And so my own advice works for me, because that's a convincer. So those three things of new worlds, really helping people, and also testing my advice on myself, those three things keep my life quite interesting. But I still dread the tests.
Yeah, we still sign up for them. I think it's a beautiful piece, though, because that's what makes you authentic in what you're doing, right? You're actually leading, trying, doing, implementing, and people can witness you going through those stages and putting yourself out there. You said something earlier that I want to highlight, is this piece about being an introvert. There's a belief that most speakers are extroverts and an introvert can't do it.
No, I think, you know this as well. I think we show up differently, don't we? I am never going to be the big stridey around, the speaker. The kind of Tony Robbins thing is not my thing. But can I be completely congruent and calm and confident on stage and pull people in a different way? Yes. Like, I love Susan Cain, who did her talk on quiet. She's a beautiful example of introversion. And also people like Mark Carney as well. I don't know. I'm speaking. It's probably a bit too close to home, but I look at his speech at Davos. Whatever you think about his politics, and there's something about a kind of quiet, still presence in a world of bluster that's really powerful.
I think we just said there, like, again, regardless of politics, the way he spoke there, the worldwide comments that you saw about, right, that's how a leader can speak. We forget sometimes, right? We forget. I'm just going to say that. We forget. And it's important to see that. And that's where, like, the pause comes in, and the groundedness and the centeredness, and we don't have to rush and say it all. I just love that piece, though, about the introvert and how I think it's a strength. When they first started talking about this, I'm going to say probably like 8 to 10 years ago, talking about introverts. And I was like, I actually do connect more with an introvert. Do I love speaking and like really connecting with a lot of people? I love it. And I have learned that I do need recovery time afterwards. Like,
big time.
That was an eye opener. I'm like, what's wrong with me? Like, why does that feel like it just sucked everything out of me? And it's because it's like we need that recharge time.
It's essential. And also, I say to clients as well, I had a lovely client who was based in New York, but was often in London. And she was a big introvert. She had lots of big speeches to do. And they used to get to the event, her and her team, and they would sit in the car because she knew once she went in, it would be like, oh, hi. She would have to kind of do the thing. But so they just gave her 15, 20 minutes just to sit quietly in the car. I've heard of politicians going into the disabled loos, to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you know that your system gets jangled by lots of interactions with other nervous systems, just give yourself a buffer. And then, as you say afterwards, I'm quite kind of hard line sometimes about saying, that was wonderful. I'm not going to come to the drinks party. I'll have a chat with anybody who wants to ask questions. And then, no, that's me. I'm done. And I think we just have to be a bit kind of just clear about what our boundaries are.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So what is next for you? What are you working on right now, other than your big talk in May?
Yes, big talk in May is coming. I'm talking to my coach tomorrow, actually, as it happens. The thing that I am absolutely loving and also hating in the way that learning is I'm deep in this breathwork facilitator program. I'm learning about a kind of deeper breathwork called conscious connected breath, which is allowing me to access an inner calm and presence and connection to a very deep kind of self that I don't think I knew was possible. But it's back to the same thing that you just have to do it. Every day, I'm doing this conscious connected breathwork, and it is releasing something at a kind of unconscious level that is really different and rather exciting.
Mm-hmm. I love this. We talked a little bit in the beginning about like NLP and subconscious work and fear. And I shared yesterday, I was working with a client, she's openly shared this, but this piece that people think your fear is up here in your head. And as we were doing some subconscious work to release it, she immediately like almost wanted to vomit. You could see the body was like going into, I'm like, are you okay? And she's like, what is happening right now? But the body has held on to this identity of fear for so long. And then what we do in NLP is like I would say, loosening the boundary of the problem, like creating space for a different belief. And she said, in the last 48 hours, I have slept. I feel calm. I'm ready to speak. And so again, here's another example that, her talk's been dialed in, like she's worked on it, but without overcoming this piece of fear. And she was blown away of how the body is holding onto it.
It's magic. And like, in some ways, I've been thinking about this for decades, but what I hadn't realized is how much my jaw and my hips in particular had held on to old tensions. And as those tensions release, the fear is released as well. And breath is such a powerful way to release the fascia that holds the tension. And I love learning. Learning is good.
You are known as an expert in, as we said, speaking confidence. And then you talk also about body language. I'm curious, what could you share with the listeners about body language that they might not know when it comes to speaking?
I think the really, really interesting thing about body language that we all can come back to on a daily basis in all of those tough meetings is that the body is the off switch for the brain. And what I mean by that, I was taught this by a neuroscientist years ago, and I've been playing with it ever since. She said, Caroline, you've got to understand that you can either be in internal dialogue, why did I say that? That was stupid, all of that. Or you can be in, my feet are on the floor, I can feel the air on my face, I can feel the clothes on my skin, I'm safe in my body, I'm safe in my breath, and your head will go quiet. Because often, when you see that kind of twitchy body language in people, it's as you know, it's actually a tell about the noise of the thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as we can come back to that feeling of being in the body, embodied cognition, breath, safe in my body, safe in my breath, feet are grounded, the head goes, okay, I'll go quiet then. And then we get this thing called presence. But it's not magic. It's just a product of knowing the difference between the on switch for your brain and the off switch.
It's just that, like, knowing how to tap into turning that switch off. And it just makes me feel like even in a space of, feet grounded and like focus on your breath. I love how you're sharing that. It pulls away from the brain and you're able to be in your body.
And the piece that I would add on to that is that the biggest enemy to that is these little devices that are addictive. And what I see people doing so often, you see it on public transport, you see it in meeting rooms, everybody's staring at these screens, which is tunnel vision, and it's kind of hell's breath and shoulders up here. That's fight or flight. And it's also really locking us into the brain. I'm always saying to speaking clients, just put your phone down for half an hour, step away, do something to move, go for a walk, come back to your breath, just get quiet, because our phones hijack our nervous systems in a just quite crazy way. And that will have a huge impact on how you show up, which is why I say to speakers, you are not allowed to have your script on your phone.
I was just going to ask you that. I was going to ask you that question because I have seen a lot of speakers do that.
No, because stuff is, even if you put it on voice memos, not voice memo, even if you put it on settings on airplane, stuff is coming up all the time. Stuff is popping up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got your life on it. It's your whole world is in that device.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want your whole world on stage with you. You just want your focus, your story, your connection to your audience. So it needs to be away from you.
I love that you said that. And there's something else about that lands too, is if I'm in the audience, there is this kind of subconscious message for me if a speaker is looking at their phone, and it's that they're not present. Because what do you feel when you are talking to somebody and they're looking at their phone? I'm like, hello, did you hear me?
I feel sad. Yes.
Yeah. Are you here? I don't know. And it does create that subconscious message. But I have seen a number of speakers do it, and I didn't really understand why it felt so odd to me. And it was, and I think you're nailing that there. I didn't realize that.
But we understand why people are doing, because maybe they've written their notes while they were traveling and it's on there and it's easy. But it's like having dinner with someone whose phone is sitting in the middle of the table. You just feel a little bit like they don't care about you.
Mm-hmm. It is a subconscious message that you're receiving.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah.
And I'm a huge fan of mind maps. If someone is a visual learner, then I'm all about the mind map with them. Mind maps are a really good way to store memorable signposts in an organized, timed way that will really help you on stage. So if you're worried about how to get off a script, try a mind map instead.
So can you tell people what the mind map is and how you use it?
Yeah, I was talking to a client yesterday, actually, who was about to go into a big quarterly business review as a speaker. And I just got him to take a little piece of card, lay it out landscape, draw an image of what his talk was about. And he's in the drinks industry, so it was a bottle of something nice. And then I showed him how to lay out from that central image the different sections as spokes from that central image, and to put timings on it. So he's starting at 9:00 and he's finishing at 1:00. And then he can work out his introduction when he hands over to his team member for section 1, who's going to do section 2, perhaps at 10:30. They're going to take a break at 11. Then he's going to take over his section at 11:15. And you just lay out this structure through time.
Mm-hmm.
You add images, you add keywords, you add subsections, and you then have a speech or a presentation that you can practice. And it's funny, my brain gave us voice memos a moment ago, because then I say to people, put your phone on voice notes and talk your map and see what you remember, see what you forget, have a listen.
Mm-hmm.
You'll know instantly what's right, and you'll know instantly where the gaps are. So then go again, remap it, talk it through. And by the third map, you've got a really good structure, and you've also pretty much learnt what comes in what order.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no nicer feeling than being on stage and knowing exactly what comes next. In fact, it is the secret to good speaking.
Because then you
can riff, you can play.
Well, and it's funny because I'm thinking of, first off, our subconscious mind remembers images. It remembers symbols. It remembers things like this. And that helps it to create some flow. And then secondly, I was laughing at my page, at my talk, because it was all color coded with like each color coded
Yes.
sticky note had a meaning. And I knew which one was like the hit home point. I knew like where, so I had this like train in my head that I knew that pink came after green and then blue came next. And it was just, I knew it was on it. Even though I didn't remember exactly like the points, but I knew where the message was going. And it in a weird way, it does help map the mind.
And the audience see you owning the whole shape of it, and they feel very comfortable in that.
Mm-hmm.
And mine, color on maps is amazing. Like you say, each section can be a different color, and that the right brain, the unconscious love that.
Mm-hmm. It's funny because I had the laptop open because typically when I'm recording a podcast, I'm doing this. But I had it there and I was like, no, I know the second my mind goes to that screen, I am going to have a hard time pulling back this way. And so it was like, that goes. I didn't really even understand. I just knew it was like, that's a no. And you turn it. But it's like, again, you're finding ways that work for you and you're encouraging people to, try something, see what works and do it. Okay, so 11 million TED Talk views. Can we
Crazy,
just for a
isn't it?
second, what was that experience like for you?
I mean, I just had no idea. It partly it is just dumb luck that many people watch my talk. So much of life is serendipity, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And I was just living in Brixton at the time, which is a part of South London for people who haven't been. And I saw that a woman in Brixton was organizing a TEDx. So I just volunteered as a speaker coach. And then I'd volunteered for a couple of years before they said, you want to pitch a talk? Because I'd written Gravitas, my second book by that point.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did work really hard on that talk with a lovely coach called Denise Graveline, who was based in DC. But I only, the reason I worked really hard on it was because my job was coaching speakers.
Of course.
And she had said to me early on, this is quite high jeopardy.
Yeah, no risk, right? No pressure.
So don't mess this up. But it was just out of professional discipline that I got it to the point that it was one of the organizers said on the day, you're more prepared than anybody else in this whole building. And that was true. And then it was really fun to do. A little bit of stuff went wrong with the air conditioning at the beginning. Because I was so prepped, it didn't throw me. And then I had this crazy prop, which a maker in Peckham had created for me by complete serendipity. We'd Googled chest of drawers, human body, and this prop, this chest of drawers popped up in Peckham, which if anybody knows London is like a mile down the road.
Okay.
And it was just the strangest thing. But that prop is the reason it's had so many views, I think, because people see this chest of drawers, which is like a half-naked man's body, and on the thumbnail in the TEDx, and they go, what? And then they watch the talk. So anybody thinking of doing a TEDx, just have a chest of drawers that looks like a naked man's body and you'll be absolutely
Sorry, that's really funny. That's really funny. And did it take you by surprise at the number of views? Like, because it's one thing to give a talk. It is another to give a talk and you are exposing yourself, right? You are sharing.
Oh, yeah.
But then all of a sudden to have a TED Talk have that many views must have been a different level of exposure. Here I am.
At first you go, no one's watched it.
Yes. Brene Brown said that. She's like, nobody watched it. No way.
My mum's watched it 6 times. And then you kind of stop worrying about it. And then someone says, oh, it's been watched 50,000 times, and you go back to it. And then after about 1 million, I mean, I can't even picture 1 million people. Can you?
No, I can't. No.
11 million. I mean, I don't know how many people in Denmark, but I think that's the population of Denmark. It becomes a quite abstract thing. But the thing that isn't abstract is people saying, that talk really helped me. And I love the power. The internet does terrible things on a regular basis, but I love the power of the internet to share a simple idea that might help people a bit. And I love that it's made a difference to people. but
Mm.
I kind of let go of it. It's not really mine anymore. It's just like, it's a nice thing that's out there.
That's beautiful. I love that you said that because I think that that's a big piece about, I know there's a lot of terrible things that can happen with the internet. And I don't see as much of it as some people because I kind of treat my space as like my house, and you don't just get to come in and tramp your feet
Yeah.
everywhere and be. So I have connected with the most incredible people, but I'm very intentional. Like I'm very, very, I decide, nope, not here for that one, not here for that. So I love that our paths have crossed in this process through
It's
the internet.
wonderful.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. Where can people connect with you? And I'm assuming that you have offers and ways that you can support people from all over.
Sure. So my site is carolinegoyder.com, and there are two things that people can access for free. One is there's a mini gravitas course, which is about 15 minutes long. And it's basically my book, Gravitas, as a video course. It's like a video Blinkist. So if you want to develop more gravitas, it's free and it's on my carolinegoyder.com site. And the other little thing that's there is a confidence booster audio course, which takes about 10 minutes
Mm.
and gives you lots of nice stuff on pause and grounding and flexing your style between strength and warmth and speaking clearly. So those two things will get people quite a long way and give you some really practical tools that will help you with more confidence, more gravitas, all the stuff we've been talking about. And there are, of course, the books Gravitas, Find Your Voice, and Star Qualities, which is the actor one.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. I'll make sure it's all there in the show notes. I have loved this conversation. And it's just been so beautiful for like connecting across as far as what we have. I have a question for you that I ask everyone at the end, and it is, what lesson in life are you most grateful for?
The lesson that I'm grateful for right now is the one about breath
Mm.
and the power every day of just remembering I'm safe in my body and letting our nervous system remember that we can breathe down low and wide diaphragmatically. And in a time that feels like beyond unstable out there, that in our own nervous systems, we can connect to safety no matter what. I think it's been a very powerful lesson for me this year after my father died last year, but it's also just a really wonderful lesson for all of us because we're all better as people when we remember that we're safe. Now, sometimes there are people out there who aren't safe.
Mhm.
Fortunately, for most of us in our lives, there's a lot of threat out there that we're reading about, but in a difficult business meeting or, in an interaction with family at home where your system is being triggered, just remind yourself, I'm safe in my body, I'm safe in my breath. It's amazing the power that comes from that.
Incredible. Incredible. Thank you so much for everything that you shared. And I love that you went there at the end because that was something I don't think I really understood into the last couple of years. It's seemed soft to think about safety in your body and safety in breath, but it's everything. It
It's
is
everything.
everything. Yeah, it's everything. Thank you.
My total pleasure. It's been so lovely to speak, Marsha.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Own Your Choices, Own Your Life. I invite you to tag me on social media with your takeaways or share it with a friend. If you feel called, please leave a 5-star review and I would be forever grateful. Until next time, remember, when you own your choices, you own your life.